The widow in white. Some spirits are tied not to houses but to sorrow, and in a quiet riverside town long forgotten by maps, they still whisper about the widow in white. The story begins more than a century ago, with a woman named Ilara. She was the daughter of a carpenter, raised among the riverside cottages where the air always smelled of salt and smoke. She was admired for her beauty, long dark hair, pale skin, and eyes that reflected the river's silver shine. But what people remembered most was her devotion to her husband, a fisherman named Darren. They married young, in a small ceremony where the village gathered by the riverbank. Ilara wore a white gown, simple but elegant, stitched by her own hands. The villagers remembered how Darren promised her a life of safety and love. But promises are fragile things. Only weeks after their wedding, Darren left for the sea on a stormy night, chasing a catch he swore would set them up for a better life. He never returned. His boat was later found shattered along the rocks, but his body was never recovered. Ilara refused to accept he was gone. Every evening, no matter how cold, she stood by the river in that same white gown, waiting. She called into the waves as if her voice could bring him back. The villagers pitied her at first. Then, as the weeks turned into months, they began to whisper that her grief was unnatural, that she had become something, unsettled. And then, one stormy night, she vanished. Some said she drowned herself, letting the river take her so she could be with him. Others claimed they saw her walking into the mist, her gown trailing behind her before she faded like smoke. By morning, the only thing left was her gown floating downstream. From that day on, the river changed. Fishermen refused to cast their nets after dusk. Children were warned not to wander near the water, and when the fog crept low and heavy, villagers barred their doors whispering prayers, because that was when she returned. They called her the widow in white. At first, sightings were fleeting. A pale woman seen at the edge of the mist, a soft cry carried by the current. But soon, the tales grew darker. One fisherman told of how he anchored his boat late, when a voice called to him from the riverbank. It was soft, trembling, desperate. "Have you seen my husband?" He saw a figure in white standing by the reeds. Thinking she was lost, he rowed closer. But as his lantern light touched her face, he saw her eyes, empty, hollow sockets filled with black water. He dropped his oar and fled, never fishing again. Another man, a traveler passing through the village, scoffed at the story. He claimed ghosts were for children. That night, drunk and foolish, he went to the river to prove them wrong. Villagers heard him shouting, taunting the ghost, daring her to appear. They never found his body, only his boots, sitting neatly on the shore. But the most chilling account came from a boy who lived to tell it. He was only 12 when he wandered too close to the water. It was dusk and the air was thick with fog. He heard weeping, soft at first, then clearer, as though a woman stood beside him. When he turned, he saw her, a figure in a soaked white gown, her hair tangled, her face pale as bone. She reached out, her lips trembling as she whispered, "Have you seen my husband?" The boy said his whole body froze. He wanted to answer, to say no, but something inside screamed at him to run. He turned and sprinted, hearing the river call his name with every step. When he reached his home, he collapsed at his mother's feet, trembling and pale. He never went near the water again. Over the years, stories multiplied. Some claimed she appeared in reflections, her face hovering in the water even when no one was there. Others said she followed men home, her wet footsteps fading just outside their doors. A few swore they saw her walking across the river's surface, her gown dragging beneath the current as if something unseen still held her. The village grew smaller as people moved away, frightened by the curse that clung to the river. But those who remained never forgot the rules. Never answer a voice that calls from the mist. Never look too closely at your reflection in the water, and above all, never linger by the river at night. Even now, they say, when the fog rolls in thick and the moonlight is pale, You can see her waiting at the water's edge. Her gown clings to her body, dripping endlessly. Her eyes search the darkness, desperate, hungry. And if you hear her voice soft and pleading, asking about her husband, you must not answer, because those who do are never seen again. And the river always keeps its secrets. Like, share, comment, and subscribe for more. Thanks.